Hello accounting students, here we are, Module 7. We are on the downside of this course. We only have a week and a half to go. Hard to believe we are almost done when you consider all the reading and everything that you've done up until this point. I know these classes go very, very fast. So in this video, I really want to talk a little bit about how we're going to end the course, how we're going to wind up the next week and a half. I'm shooting this, it's Wednesday of Module 7. So right now we're kind of in the middle of that module. So, but before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about last week and the case study. And you guys did a great job on the case study, by and far. One of the strongest performances I've seen out of a group in quite a while. So you really took to heart my suggestions, and your narratives were very good for the most part, and for the vast majority of you, really explaining and defending those positions that you made with those case studies, and making a really great effort in using the language of accounting, using those theories and concepts that you've learned. Great job with that. So very, very proud of of the quality of work that was turned in with the case study. So mission accomplished. Again, one of the best I've seen probably in the past year. So great job with that. All right. So, and then I get a lot of students reaching out to me about, what's the correct answer? Well, these case studies in everything in life, there is sometimes not a correct answer. You only see the answer after it's happened because the variables are so many and so unpredictable that it's pretty impossible. But you can kind of get a general fuzzy zone of probability of something happening with the tools that we have today. And that's kind of what I'm looking for, a general direction. Now, sometimes a student will go completely in another direction, and that's okay as long as they've supported and defended that decision to the best of their abilities. So that's all right. So that's my little caveat that there is no correct answer. But if you are interested in my perspectives on the case study, take a look at the link below. And that might give you some ideas. Some of you were exactly spot on with some of the observations that I've made on the case study. Great stuff there. If you weren't, don't be despondent. That's okay too. I think, I'm not saying that, what I saw was correct as well. But if you want my perspectives, check out that link below the video. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how we're going to end this course and, what we're doing this week. So this week in Module 7, is a pretty light week. So don't let that throw you, is my suggestion. Maybe recharge your batteries a little bit. Get ready for some of your other courses that may be ending next week as well. This week we only have a learning activity and a module quiz. So kind of the basic stuff. What you got coming up is in Module 8. And that's where you're like, oh my gosh, Chris, look at Module 8. It's crazy. Not too bad. So let's explain each item here. We got our normal learning activity. You guys are doing great on those. So no issues there. We have our second case study. Now this is one where my suggestion is this. If you're done with your assignments already for this week, check out that case study. If you haven't noticed, I've unlocked all the modules. Many of you are working ahead and you've noticed it. Great. Some of you reached out to me requesting that you could work ahead, and I said, no problem, I'll do it. So the module's unlocked. You can go in that module. That means that you can go in and look at the content. You can actually submit assignments. So go in and look at that Module 8. Look at that second case study. My recommendation is that you read the questions, just like you did before. Read the questions, and then at least do your first read of the case study this week. And it highlights some of the areas that you think are connecting back to some of those questions that you read. Okay, that will lay the groundwork so then you can finish up this thing next week. Some of you may finish it this week at all. I've had students finish the whole class at this point, but up to you. You got to balance everything out, but I would at least start a little bit of work on that case study. That'll be your, probably your more difficult of the assignments to finish up next week. Okay, so there's my recommendation on that. Final exam. Oh my God, final. Okay, relax. Guess what? I can almost guarantee you a perfect score on this final as long as you do the work. Okay, so let me show you about this final exam. Students have really liked this over the past year since I've been doing this. you are going to do something I call design your own final. Hey, how great is that? You're going to be able to pick the questions you like. And I've written 25 questions covering some of the basic learning objectives of this course. You can see all 50 there. And you're going to pick 25 that you like. And you're going to answer those, and you're going to answer them fully. Just make sure you do answer the questions fully. For a few of those questions, there are 2-sentence answers. Okay? Students, hey, we all do it. I would do it too. I'm going to find the ones that only take 2 sentences. I'm going to answer those. Then I'm going to look at some of the other ones, and I'm going to pick that one. The ones that look like, wow, that's going to take maybe 4 to 5 sentences, I may save in my back pocket towards the end. Maybe some ones that I really am interested in doing, I'll maybe do a couple of those. Totally your strategy. I don't care. But just know that not all 50 of these questions can be answered in 2 sentences. That's kind of the minimum. So you're really looking anywhere from 3 to 5 sentences to answer some of these questions. Let me just pick one at random. Okay, so let's say Medicare. You could, the Medicare first definition would be, you could do that in 1 sentence. But you probably, honestly, Medicare, what is Medicare? That could be explained in a 10-volume series of textbooks. You could probably take it 10,000 pages to talk about, if you wanted to talk about what is Medicare. So it could be as deep as you want. I would say a question like that would probably take about 3 sentences to kind of flesh out the general thing of, Medicare and Medicaid. All right. So just, make sure you're doing that. Where students get some points off is if it's a relatively robust topic and you only did it in 2. Again, there's a few of them that you can do in 2, but not all of them. All right. So there is the design your own final. Just make sure you're following those directions, and you'll be fine for that. All right, so let's go back into the module. Hopefully that brings down the anxiety level. You may want to even start, you could probably knock out 10 of those definition questions this week. Easy. There's nothing on that design your own final. There's a few questions relating to Module 8, but you can answer all 25 now. You have the knowledge. You don't need, and you got the book, so you don't need to necessarily wait until you've read Module 8. You can knock out a good chunk of them right now. All right, so if not the whole thing. Many students just finish the final. I've had some students, about 10% of students finish the whole class, usually in Module 7. All right, so you got your final exam there. Hopefully that helps. We have another progress journal, our last of our 4 progress journals. We do not have a progress journal in Module 7. Remember, I eliminated half of them, just doubled the points of the ones that we had remaining. So I really value these progress journals. They're a great way for me to take the temperature of the class, get your thoughts and opinions as we're going through the course. So thank you so much for doing that. Now you do have a course evaluation that will trigger between modules 7 and 8, but I don't see that for another few weeks. And I like to hear from you guys as we're going. So those progress journals are really beneficial. So thank you so much for doing those. So we got one more progress journal. And then for those of you that asked, I think I said way back in Module 4 that we would have an extra credit opportunity. So we do have one there for you if you need it. Many of you vast majority of you are locking solid on an A at this point. And unless you don't turn in the final and the case study, which are 2 significant chunks of points, you're going to be doing pretty good. But if you feel that you want a little extra cushion, we do have an extra credit opportunity here. We'll go ahead and pull this up. But what I like to do is I like to bring those Mercy Core values back into the application of healthcare administration, and specifically this, what our course is centered on is accounting. The Mercy Core values, we instantaneously see, the connection of compassion and human dignity and excellence and service, sacredness of life and justice. We see that easily connected to the application of healthcare. For healthcare practitioners, whether you're a nurse or, like in myself, a radiologic technologist, it's easy to draw that connection, because you're dealing with patients. It's a little bit harder sometimes to make the connection with healthcare administration, but I would argue that it's just as applicable, just as important, just different. Remember, the two don't exist without each other. You don't have the nurses, doctors, and allied health professionals without the administration side. These people here are not coming to work for free. Okay. They may volunteer their time occasionally, but they're not going to volunteer their lives because they have their own lives and children and dependents and so on that they need to be working for. So, and the administrators make that happen. They're so critical to making that happen, especially in a modern society. All right. So there's the Mercy Corps value, extra credit assignment if you feel you need it. It's there for you to do. Let's talk a little bit about due dates. So, everything in Module 8, of course, is due Sunday at midnight next week. The course closes Sunday at midnight Eastern time, for those of you that are not in the Eastern time zone. Closes next Sunday night. Everything has to be in then. Everything. If you have late work, as I've mentioned before, I am willing to accept late work. There will be a deduction on points to be fair to students that have turned their work on time. But as I said before, you don't want a 0 in the grade book. That is where students usually lose that letter grade. When you do the math at the end, and this course is based on 1,000 points, when you do the math in the end, it's those missing assignments that really bring students down, especially into those areas of B, C, D or worse. That's where it hurts. So, I do again, submit your late work, get it in. Again, it's better than a 0. And make sure that it's in by Sunday at midnight of the last day of the course next week. It's got to be in Sunday at midnight. I don't have time to track students down if there is a missing assignment, or whatever's in that. I can't, reach out to you that Monday morning because I have to get grades in very early, on the next day. So I got to go in, see what was turned in, and most of us do wait. I'd probably do it too. They wait for various assignments and turn them in on Sunday. Totally fine. Not your problem, my problem that I have to come in and then make sure I get those items graded before when grades are due. So I don't have a lot of time to email students, where something's missing. So make sure everything is in and we're all good, even your late work by Sunday at midnight. All right. So that pretty much covers how we're going to complete the course over the next week and a half. Should be doable, should be actually pretty comfortable. As long as you use the remainder of this week to kind of lay the groundwork for Module 8. Knock out, read that case study one time, make some notes, and maybe do about half of your final, answer about 10 questions on that final, and you'll have smooth sailing next week. You'll finish up your final, finish up your case study. The other two items are pretty, you got that down on how to do those learning activities. Not a problem there. There is no quiz next week. There's a quiz this week, but not one next week because it's rolled up into the final. There are some questions on that design your own final that come from content in Module 8, but you're not obligated to pull that out. So totally up to you on that. All right. So that concludes what we have going on for this week. I also put a link down to some very interesting information that's really making the buzz over the past couple of weeks. And that's something called blockchain. So if you're not familiar with blockchain, it's a concept you probably want to be aware of going forward in healthcare. Now, when I first started seeing these articles come out about blockchain in healthcare, I'm like, that's Bitcoin. And that's exactly what they're using. They're using the same technology behind Bitcoin, and that's that blockchain technology, and they're using it in a ton of different areas in healthcare. And I thought, wow, that's really unique. So I wanted to draw your attention to some new exciting technology that they believe it's being used now, but they believe it will be much more pervasive all throughout healthcare, really in the next 3 to 5 years. So take a read of that. I put a couple links in there about the basics of blockchain, what that is, and then also some specific information about healthcare. Not going to be on the quiz final or anything like that, but again, I want to bring some of that current information right back into the classroom that I see that might benefit you. So when you hear someone say, yeah, blockchain applications within healthcare, you're not like, huh? You're like, oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, it's that Bitcoin thing and how those various nodes are all connected and you can talk a little bit intelligently about it, and at least you'll know then more than 90% of the other people working in healthcare by just knowing that this is existing and kind of bubbling through the system now. So some really interesting stuff that's just coming out. We're kind of hitting the big time over the past, I'd say, about month. It's really kind of getting critical mass. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. So take 10 minutes, read those articles, and you'll be able to impress your friends and neighbors at your next gathering. So with your healthcare knowledge. All right, guys, it's been a great week. I will check in with you next week, just a final course summary. But again, if anything comes up, you know how to reach me. As we're kind of finishing up the course. So do a great job, finish strong, and I know you'll do fantastic in this course. Thanks, guys.